Hey guys, welcome back to Mo's Game Table. Today we're going to take a look inside Old School Tactical Volume 3, Pacific 1941 to 1945. This is a game designed by Shane Logan and published by Flying Pig Games. I just picked this up on the recent Flying Pig game sale. It was half off. I couldn't pass it up, and it's the Marines, so I have to have it. And Old School Tactical is a great system. It's a lot of fun. It's not hard to get into, and this will be a great match for OST Volume 1 reprint, which will be in here pretty soon. So let's take a look at the back of the box and see what this game is all about. The popular Old School Tactical series returns with Old School Tactical Volume 3. This iteration of the quick-to-learn, challenging-to-master tactical game brings the war in the Pacific to the series. Fight tooth and nail in dense jungle terrain. Hide in bunkers and caves and hit the enemy at the best moment. Move up your Sherman Zippo and flush the enemy out with flames. Find your enemy, fix them, flank them, and finish them. If it works on the battlefield, it works in Old School Tactical. And it works with minimal fuss and muss. And the components, we get a 30 by 41 inch mounted map with 1 inch hexes, 4 counter sheets, 18 luck cards, 36 unit data cards, 2 player aid cards, 4 dice, and a full color rule and scenario book. It's for ages 14 and up, for 2 players, and the playing time is 45 minutes to 5 hours. And you can see here an example of the map and the counters that come with the game. And I laid this down on the table because it is a big box and I didn't want to hold it up while I was reading it. So we're going to take a look inside and see what we get. All right, we get our deck of cards, our dice, Rulebook, Playbook, player aid cards, counter sheets, and this gigantic map, mounted map. So let's set up the map and take a closer look at the game. And here's a look at the mounted map that comes with the game. You can see it's a really big map, big, beautiful map. Flying Pig does a great job with their maps. You're not going to use the entire map for every scenario. You're going to use segments of it, which you're going to be able to block off with different things. Like there's some counters that you can use. If you got the Kickstarter, you can use these neoprene little boundary markers, but you're not going to use the entire map for every scenario. There are maybe some scenarios, I haven't checked them all yet, that use a greater portion of the map, possibly even the entire map. But for the majority of the scenarios, you're going to use the segments of the map. Got a variety of terrain on here. You can see we've got jungle, we've got palms, we've got kunai, we've got hills here. We've got both level 1 and level 2. Level 1 hills have the blue triangle and the blue center dot. The level 2 hills have the red triangle and the red center dot. So very easy to tell which type of hill it is, aside from the fact that on the top it's going to be a level 2. We've also got some jungle trails, and then we have some roads over here and rivers, as you can see. On the right-hand side, we have the victory point and the casualty points track. At the bottom, we have the impulse points, which is going to be on both sides. Same for the victory points and the casualty points. And then on the top, we have the turn track. Then we have a breakdown of what different types of terrain are on the map. But like I said, overall, beautiful map by Flying Pig. They did a great job as always. Next, we'll take a look at the player aids that come with the game. On the front side, we have the infantry combat table, which gives you the firepower modifiers, die roll modifiers, and the leader casualty roll. At the bottom, we have the vehicle combat table. Again, getting the firepower modifiers, die roll modifiers, the hit modifiers, and the damage rolls. On the reverse side, we have the turn sequence at the top right. Then we have the terrain effects chart listing out all the different types of terrain and the movement cost for foot, wheeled, and tracked vehicles, as well as any defense bonuses and line of sight information, such as whether it degrades or blocks line of sight. Below that, we have the off-board artillery strikes, the accuracy and drift, and then we get the drift direction roll over here for mortar, guns, and rockets. Below that, we have airstrikes, bog down, and the rally table. Next, we'll take a look at the cards that come with the game. We have the unit data cards at the top for the US, below that for the Japanese, and then the luck cards at the bottom. Each of these cards is going to give you the information for that individual unit for both sides, and you can see the differences between, like, for example, the rifle squad for the US. They have a firepower of 4, range of 6, and a defense of 4. The Japanese have a firepower of 3, a range equaling that of the US of 6, but a defense also of 3. They are, though, +1 in melee. Then below that, you have the luck cards, which is going to give you a little bit of a bonus when used. For example, Crazed, your troops fight like mad, add +3 to your firepower in a single melee. Born Lucky, you can disregard any single attack on one of your units. Play after enemy rolls attack and gets the effect, may be used for a vehicle also. Then Booby Trap, launch an attack on any single enemy foot unit when it enters a hex of non-open terrain. Unit ignores terrain and undergoes an unmodified attack of 5 firepower. So pretty interesting way to change things up and add some variety to the game. Next, we'll take a look at the counter sheets that come with the game. At the top, we have U.S. Army Forces. Below that, we have the U.S. Marine Corps. We'll also have support weapons and some administrative counters here for trench and star shells. On the second sheet, we have Japanese forces. On the next sheet, we have vehicle counters for both the U.S. and the Japanese forces, as well as some support units and leaders for the Japanese and some administrative counters for use in the game. And on the final sheet, we have the rest of the administrative counters for use in the game. Next, we'll take a look at the rules. This is a 22-page full-color rulebook, and as you can see at the top right, it is version 5.6, because remember, Old School Tactical, this is volume 3. There have been 2 other games in the series, and there's another one on the way. Inside of the front cover, we have the table of contents listing out all the rules and their page numbers, as well as their case numbers. And we start off with a breakdown of the different components of the game, the map, the counters, explaining all of those to you, the breakdown of the counters itself, single-man counters, attaching leaders, armor leaders, crude weapons, abandoning your weapons, support weapons, all that explained to you in the first couple of pages. Anti-tank support weapons, satchel charges, mortar support weapons, and then we get into vehicles and then covered arcs. In this game, keep in mind your vehicle facing is really key, so that's why they've got the covered arc there. You're going to have a little red dot at the, or a red triangle, I should say, at the corner. That's going to show you the vehicle facing when you have it on the map. You have to aim it towards one of the flat hex sides, and that will tell you the facing of your vehicle as it's explained here, and that gives you your covered arc. Fortification and wreckage counters, bunkers, pillboxes, barbed wire, all your different terrain features explained to you here. Then we get into line of sight, several examples of line of sight, then the unit cards, which we took a look at, and then we get into gameplay. So gameplay doesn't start till page 11. The rest of the pages are all support information to understand how the system works, and then we get into the gameplay on page 11. Remember how I talked earlier about setting up the different aspects of the map that you're going to be using, the portions of the map. You're going to use these map edge counters right here that's going to limit out the areas of the map you're going to use. We have gut check, rally, free rally, stacking limits, hidden units, limited actions, movement, vehicle movement and facing, bog down, entering and exiting units, transporting, rolling cover, group moves, airborne operations, assault moves, combat formula. Then we get into combat here on page 15. Intensive fire, leader casualty roll, fire groups. Got several examples sprinkled throughout the book, all illustrated, which is great. There's also some text examples here in red. Vehicle combat results, abandoning your vehicle, collateral damage, melee phase, concentrated attacks, tank duels. Some more illustrated examples, your offboard assets like airstrikes, artillery, and then accuracy and drift, which we saw when we looked at the player aid card. You have that drift table. Structure collapse, turn sequence, your turn marker, reinforcements, attach leaders and weapons, smoke counters, scenario rolls, initiative, impulse, all that stuff explained to you. Then we have the rules index at the back of the rule book, which will give you an alphabetical way of looking up any of the rules you have any questions on, and then an area for notes. And we are at the back of the rule book. And lastly, we'll take a look at the playbook. This is a full color book. The inside of the front cover, it gives you a little breakdown on volume 3 being now in the Pacific as opposed to the Eastern Front and then the Western Front in volume 1 and 2. New terrain and fortifications. You got kunai grass, palms, palm debris, jungle paths, ocean, beach, airstrip, and then caves on the first couple pages. Then we also have trenches, new rules and units for Japanese units, bonsai attacks, bonsai mechanics, and then an illustrated example of the bonsai attacks that are going to be happening in the game. Tank killers also, canister rounds, star shells, napalm airstrikes. Then we get into our scenarios. So you actually have some specific rules and terrain that are explained to you in the first couple pages of the playbook, and then we get into the actual scenarios for the game. Start off here in the Solomon Islands, 1942, Raiders, then Tulagi first. Then we go to the canal, First Clash and Alligator Creek, both on Guadalcanal. Continue on with the Old Breed, Edson's Ridge. You can see it gives you the listing of the turn number, the map that you're going to be using, which is map 6. That's what comes with the game. Then your map coordinates that you're going to be using when you want to set up the segments of the map that you're going to be using for the scenario. Control hexes, whether there are any or not. Offboard assets, special rules of victory. Then your forces for the Japanese and then the Americans. Edson's Ridge. Starvation Island. The Piva Trail. We're in Bougainville now. Clear the Mount. The Beachhead. In the Coconut Grove. Ground & Pound. Continuing on with Bougainville, now we get into New Britain, ROA Ambush, Suicide Creek, Silent and Swift, and then Dying for Thirst and Biak. Then we have Scenario 15, which is closing out the Biak scenarios, shot for shot. And then we have one more on New Guinea here for crossing the Drinumore. And that is the end of the playbook. And that is a look at everything you get inside of Old School Tactical Volume 3. Pacific, 1941 to 1945. This is a game designed by Shane Logan and published by Flying Pig Games. Well, you get this big, giant, beautiful map in this big box and all these scenarios, really big, chunky counters, and a very streamlined system that you can really just get on the table very quickly. Only 11 pages of rules, 22-page rulebook. First 11 are pretty much just support information, the different types of counters, the terrain, the maps, all that stuff to read. And then you have the system itself, only 11 pages. Really fun system to play. You got your data cards for both sides, the US and the Japanese. Then you have the luck cards. Luck cards are really fun because they add in a different bit of variety for each scenario. Scenarios are not going to play the same way each time because of that, and I think that's pretty cool. And it adds that little randomness, that little chaos to combat, the friction, and changes things up each time, which is a lot of fun. But this is a really fun system. I played Volume 1, have not played Volume 2. I don't have that one, but I did just get Volume 3 after a long, arduous trek through FedEx. It finally arrived, and I'm really happy to have it, so I'm looking forward to getting this one on the table and checking it out real soon. And Volume 1 should be arriving here pretty soon. That is finally in the States, and now it's going to go through its sorting process, and then it'll be shipping it out here pretty soon. So probably see that in another month or two. Looking forward to getting that one back on the table also. So if you've been looking for a tactical system, definitely check out Old School Tactical. It's a lot of fun. Well, I hope that helps you guys out if you've been curious about this one. If you have any comments or questions, post them down below. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.